Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we are blessed to find time, inshallah, to continue with the study of Surah At-Taubah. Let's start off with the intentions for seeking knowledge and teaching. I intend to seek knowledge and to teach, to benefit myself and to benefit others, to remind myself and to remind others, to profit myself and to profit others, to urge adherence in the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to invite to guidance and to guide to that which is good, seeking the face of Allah, His pleasure, His goodness, His reward, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's continue on with the Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم نور بالقرآن بصري واشرح به صدري وأطلق به لساني واستعمل به بدني وقوي به جناني وأسرع به فهمي بحولك وقوتك فإنه لا حول ولا قوة إلا بك يا أرحم الراحمين والصلاة على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين بفضل سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Alhamdulillah, we are at Surah At-Taubah. We did verses, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we did verses 53 to 59 in the last lesson. Rasulullah SAW was to tell the hypocrites whether they spend willingly or not, it will not be accepted. Right, there's a reality because they are transgressing people as a reason because they like to go against laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they believe and the beliefs are not strong beliefs. Their spendings are not accepted because they disbelieve in Allah. So they are considered as disbelievers because they are actually disbelievers. They only pretend to believe His messenger and they praise sluggishly. So these are indications of them being hypocrites. They don't really believe in Allah. They don't really believe in His messenger. And when they pray, they are lazy in their prayers. They spend unwillingly. So they are not sincere in their expenditure. We should not be amazed by their wealth and children. Allah only wishes to punish them with these in this worldly life. Even in the world, they will be punished with their wealth and children. And the punishment comes in the form of stress and unhappiness and disturbances and rebellion by their children and things like that. And their souls may depart while they are disbelievers. So the wealth and the children actually cause them to continue in their disbelief, and they will die as disbelievers. So it's nothing to be amazed about, nothing to envy, because at the end of the day, we all wish to die as good Muslims, and they would die as disbelievers. So it is nothing envious about their lives. They say about Allah that they are of you, but they are not of you. So they make fun of belief. There are people who are afraid. Why are they afraid? Because they are always lying. When you lie, they're so afraid you'll be found out. So if they could find a refuge or cave or a place to enter into, they would certainly have turned to it running in haste. They would find, because of their condition of lying and this trying to deceive and fear of being found out, they would want to hide away from people. Some of them accused Rasulullah in the distribution of alms. They accused that he was unfair in his distribution of alms. If they are given, they are pleased, and they are not given, they are full of rage. So that's their reality, right? They want money, they want this, they want that, and they start making stories about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If they were content with what Allah and His Messenger gave them, and it said Allah is sufficient for us, Allah will soon give them out of His grace and His Messenger too. Surely to Allah do we make our petition. So that it's right. These are people. They are reminded if they are good. If they are thankful to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, thankful to the Messenger, just keep quiet and take whatever they are given, and know that Allah is enough for them, and Allah will give, because Allah is the owner of everything. He can give whatever He wants to give. His Messenger also will give more. And to Allah we should leave our affairs. All right, we go on to the next set of words. One word only here, verse 63. Yuhadidi, he opposes. So that you know, this is there's a you there, there's he, and hadidi, this is a hadada is a root word there, and it is yuhadid. Looks like it is in a jazm state because fail doesn't have a kasra, and when you see a fail with a kasra, normally it is a sukun, but because of the continuation of this verse, it goes into a kasra state. We'll look at the verse later on, inshallah. Inna masadaqatu, inna can be surely that, or only that. Sometimes inna also is translated as only that. Sadaqat, the alms, and it's plural, right? Alif ta here, and this is rafa state. Lil fuqara, li huruf jazm. So fuqara is a huruf jar. So fuqara is in its jar state. Fuqara, al fuqara, the poor. Fuqara, the poor. Wal masakin, and the needy. All right, so you have faqir and miskin. This is what we always have, faqir and miskin. But this is plural. Masakin, plural, and the needies. Of course, you don't, in English, you don't put needies now, but actually they're all plural. And fuqara also plural. And masakin also plural. Wal amilin, amilin are the one who does work. And what work is this? Alaiha, over them. Them is the sadaqats. Right, those who do work over them, and the officers over them, them referring to the sadaqat here, being a female entity, a single female entity, understood here as being a single female entity. Innama sadaqatu lil fuqara'i wal masakini wal amilina alaiha. So the yanun tells us it's jar state. Yanun also jar state. Lots of them. Wal mu'allafati, wal mu'allafa. Mu'allafa also jar, ta here, t here, y is n, al mu'allafa. We call mu'allafs, normally we tend to translate mu'allafs as people who are converting, who have converted. But this one is the one who is inclined. Allafa is to have the root for is alafa. Alafa, it becomes allafa, to be inclined, to have an affection for, or to have an incline for, an interest in it. So mu'allafah, right, is a female here, and it's used as a female term here to hyperbolize the state. The mu is makes it a person. Qulubuhum, their hearts. Qulubuhum means their hearts are inclined. All right, sorry. Mu'allafa is female because of qulub. Qulub is considered as a female entity because it's a plural of qalbun, and plural it is considered as non-broken. So it's a broken plural, that means non-standard plural. So such plurals will take a female. So this one is actually describing the hearts. So that's why it's female also. Al-mu'allafati qulubuhum, so their hearts, and the one inclined their hearts. It means their hearts, those who are in their hearts are inclined. Wa fir riqabi, and in captivity. Here riqab means the neck is some. I can't remember that. Yeah, that means they are tied up. That means they are tied up by certain things. Wafil riqab, wafil riqabi, and in the riqab. Wagharimin, and those in debt. And see, all of these are in jar, ya nun, wal gharimin, all comes from the lil for. All are affected by the for here, lil, for this, for this, for this, for this. All right. Innamas sadaqatu lil fuqara'i wal masakini wal amilina 'alayha وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ وَالْغَارِمِينَ وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, and in the path of Allah, sabilillahi, again, fi sabilillahi, path of Allah, fi is huruf jar, so sabili is jar state, and then this is jar also because it's an off structure. Wa fi sabilillahi wa bnis sabil, and the travelers, the one who is in the path. This is understood to be a traveler. Wa bnis sabil, faridatam min Allah. Farida is fardu. Fardu is wajib, right? And obligation, that means must do. Min Allah, from Allah. Min is of, is from Allah, and his huruf jar. Min Allah. Wallahu, and Allah, alimun hakim, all knowing, all wise. Right? Wa fi sabilillahi wa ibnis sabili faridatam min Allah. Wallahu alimun hakim. All right. We talked on sadaqah. We talked, the previous verse was talking about how they were against, they were making accusations against Rasulullah SAW in saying that Rasulullah SAW was not fair in the distribution of the alms. The word here is sadaqat. So sadaqat is what is spent. Not really, we will look at the meaning of the word sadaqat later. Only that the sadaqat lil fuqara'i wal masakini wal amilina alayha. So here the sadaqat is for the poor, the needy, those officials, those who work on them. All right. So the word sadaqah, alms, and sidaq, dowry, are derived from the word sidq. So you can see the root word as the same, sadaqah. Right, siddiq is truthfulness. Alms, dowry, right? Sidaq, dowry also has the same root word also. Giving alms is a sign of truthfulness in the faith of Allah, faith to Allah. And dowry is a sign of love to the wife. So if you're truly in love with her, you give her a gift, right? And those who are truly faithful to Allah, they give sadaqah in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The term faqir is derived from the faqar, poverty. It is referred to very poor people. The Quranic term miskin refers to a person who, because of poverty, sits at home and is called a stay-at-home one. So these are, we will see that the word faqir and the word miskin have different meanings. Different people understand them differently. Right? We will talk a bit about faqir and miskin. What is the category of faqir? And what is the category of miskin? All right, so here, if you look at this first translation, the explanation here is poor people. And the other one is because of poverty. So what's the difference? One is poor and the other one also poor, and the other one sits at home and is called a stay-at-home one. All right, so let's look further. According to some Islamic narrations, faqir, a poor person, is a needy person who usually does not ask people for help. So this one is one opinion says, if faqir is really poor, but he doesn't ask for help. But the miskin is one who, because of intensity of indigency, that means poverty, in general, asks others to give him money. So that is definition. Faqir, poor, but doesn't ask for money. Miskin is poor, but asks for money. Because he's really, really poor that he really needs to ask for money. Some Islamic traditions indicate that if the rich paid their alms tax to the deserving needy persons in the society, there would not exist any poor person. In reality, it is very, very true. If all of the rich Muslims are to give the sadaqah, okay, this is of course not sadaqah, we're talking about zakat actually, although the word sadaqah is used here, and most of us are familiar with the idea that, or with the concept that sadaqah means charity. But in this particular verse, we would eventually realize that sadaqah is not charity, but refers to zakat here. Okay? And as mentioned, sadaqah is supposed to be given with a truthfulness in faith. So if people who are not truthful in their faith, they actually finds it difficult to give zakat. Okay. All right, and we'll look at how it goes. Right, so it is true, as we have seen, Allah has shown us in history with Abdul Aziz, Caliph Umar Abdul Aziz, during his caliphate, only 3.5 years of caliphate, but he has established a religion in the way of Rasulullah SAW, so much so that there was no poor people to give zakat to during his time. Eventually, the zakat of the rich has to be given to the non-Muslims. So first and foremost, we must give our zakat to Muslims. If there's no needy Muslims, then we can go on to the non-Muslims, because it is mentioned poor here, not only poor Muslims. So any poor one is allowed to be given here. All right. Surely Allah is fixed in the wealth of the rich some amount for the poor to solve their difficulties. And if he knew it was not sufficient for them, he would increase it. And if people paid the poor's rights to them, they could live very well. All right, we know that, of course, there are different categories of zakat. I talk about zakat here. Mainly that we are familiar with, because we live in a country where there is no, like in Singapore here, we don't have animals or farming and everything. This have different categories. You need to learn. If you are into animal rearing, then you got to learn what are the zakat for them. The farming, what is zakat for them. But for most of us, it's savings, and we give 2.5%. So he said that if Allah is all knowing, Allah is all wise. He put 2.5% because he knows that's just good enough. You have to put more than that. And then you can see human beings and their taxes and everything, increasing taxes every year. Sometimes, having this tax, that tax, all kinds of tax. But for us, it's just so simple. 2.5% of those who have savings more than a certain amount. Is it? Right? Not everybody is supposed to give tax. So there's a tax in some sense, right? And it's enough. If everybody is to give them, it would be enough, more than enough, actually. Especially in this world of ours, where there are very, very, very rich Muslims out there, right? Billionaires, who, if they give their money, it would serve a lot of people, inshallah. After Allah mentioned the protest that the ignorant hypocrites mentioned to Rasulullah SAW about the distribution of alms, he stated that it is he who divided the alms, explained its rulings, and decided in its divisions. He did not delegate this decision to anyone else. So it is Allah. Allah said it is for these groups of people. Not anybody can get the sadaqah, the zakat or sadaqah. Allah mentioned the expenditures of zakat in this ayah, starting with the fuqara, the poor, because they have more need than the other categories, since their need is pressing and precarious. So we do understand from here that the fuqara are really people who are just have got nothing, and they are really, really in need. It was reported that Ibn Abbas, Mujahid, Al-Hasan al-Basri, Ibn Zayd, and several others said that the faqir is a graceful person who does not ask anyone for anything, while the miskin is the one who follows after people begging. All right. So that's again the definition of faqir and miskin. Faqir, they are poor, but they will not ask. But miskin, they would go asking. Qatada said the faqir is the ill person, while the miskin is physically fit. Like, for example, the faqir is a person with some kind of disease and so poor. And of course, he can't move around. We will now mention the hadith about each of these 8 categories. The fuqara. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu said that the messenger of Allah, Rasulullah SAW, said, La tahillu sadaqatu li ghaniya wa la li dhi mirratin sawi. The alms should not be given to the wealthy and the physically fit. Ahmad, Abu Dawud, and Al-Tirmizi collected this hadith. All right. So this is talking about physically fit. So that is why they put the fuqara as sick people who can't go to work. Right. But if you are physically fit, you should be able to go to work. But then again, sometimes people are fit, but there's no job for them and they can't. In Singapore, actually, you can do lots of jobs if you're not fussy. Right, anyway. The masakin. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that Rasulullah SAW said, ليس المسكين بهذا الطواف الذي يطوف على الناس فترده اللقمات واللقمتان والتمرة والتمرتان. قال فمن المسكين يا رسول الله؟ قال الذين لا يجدوا غنى يغنيه ولا يفطن له فيتصدق عليه ولا يسأل الناس شيئا. The needy. So here is a miskin here. Miskin. We look at the word. The miskin is not the one who goes around the people and asks them for a mouthful or two or meals or a date or two. So al-miskin, we had that tawaf always to go around. Alladhi yatufu ala nasi fatarudduhu luqmah, right? Our luqmatan, right? A mouthful or two mouthfuls. But tamrah is meals or date or 2 days or tamratan. They asked, then who is the needy person? Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the miskin is not the one who goes around the people and asks for a mouthful or two or a date or two. Then they ask, then who is the miskin people? فَمَنَ الْمَسَاكِينَ يَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. Then he says, the one who does not have enough to satisfy his need and whose condition is not known to others, and that others may give him something in charity, and who does not beg of people. So you can see two different opinions here, right? Just now we saw masakin as those who go around asking, fuqara as not people who doesn't go around asking. Now we have miskin who doesn't go around asking. But what is important is that they work, but they don't have enough to satisfy them. We have the example of the masakin in the story of Nabi Khidir in Surah Al-Kahfi, right? Where those people who were having the ship, the boat, right, in which Nabi Khidir and Nabi Musa rode on, they are known as masakin. So from there, some ulama has said that the masakin is other people who work, but they don't have enough for the month. They don't have enough to support themselves. The two sheikhs collected this hadith, that means Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Those employed to collect alms. Those employed to collect alms deserve a part of the alms unless they are relatives of Rasulullah SAW who are not allowed to accept any sadaqah. Sadaqah here refers to the Prophet SAW and his family members cannot accept zakat, cannot accept sadaqah. They can only accept gifts. As Rasulullah is very particular. If anybody gives him anything, he says, is this sadaqah? If this is sadaqah, he will not take it, he will give it to others. But if they say, no, it's a gift for you, it's a present. Okay, fine. All right, so that's the way the ruling is. Muslim recorded that Abdul Muttalib bin Rabi'ah bin Al-Harith and Al-Fadl bin Al-Abbas went to Rasulullah asking him to employ them to collect the alms. Right, who is Abdul Muttalib bin Rabi'ah bin Al-Harith? This is Al-Abbas, that one, Al-Fadl bin Al-Abbas will be his cousin. Rasulullah replied, Inna sadaqata la tahillu li Muhammadin wa la li ali Muhammad. Innama hiya awsahun nas. Surely the alms are not allowed from Muhammad, nor the relatives of Muhammad, but it is only the dirt that the people discard. All right, so it's considered as not befitting for the family of Muhammad SAW to take the sadaqah, or in this case the sadaqah, right? Because it is just what is given away by the people. Administrators' salaries and expenses incurred in administering the whole social welfare system of the society. So basically, this amil, right, are those who do the work of managing the funds, sorting out the funds, giving them away to those who deserve. Of course, in this modern world, you need to study their cases, whether they are truly needy or not, or whether they deserve, they are of the 8 categories or not. Right? So there's a lot of work to be done, and Islam recognizes that this is work and they must be paid. And it's not something which is so it must be paid, is part of the payment. In an Islamic country, it is the government's basic responsibility to run an effective and efficient social welfare system based on zakah and other revenues and to look after the needs of the people. So in the absence of an Islamic government, charities still should be paid to and administered by the community collectively. So in that case, administration expenses of the community organizations that perform this duty are covered under this category. Some people are not happy. They don't, because a lot of people out there, some of us Muslims, they don't really learn our religion well. And then we start making comments. How can you take money? This, that, and then must ikhlas. But this is what Islam is about. People do work, they must be paid for their work. Right? And that is part of the zakat. Zakat has been allotted to the amil, and the amil means the one who does the work, right? The work. If you don't pay these people, then who's going to do the work? People need money to support families and things like that. You see, so Allah Subhanahu wa Taala knows, and Allah has allotted money for the amil. All right. Similarly, it also applies to the guardians, administrators, or trustees administrating the affairs of those who cannot take care of themselves, just orphan, sick, handicapped, etc. So it extends this idea of the one who does the work, the one who look after orphans. They should be given a little bit of payment. If they are rich, then fine. The Quran says that, in talking about orphans, you can take a bit of their money as payment for yourself, but not overtaking. You must know what is just enough. It's reasonable, basically. But if you are rich and you don't want to take, also fine. Because you are rich, you don't need the money, and you just want to look after the orphans and be rewarded for looking after the orphans or the sick or whoever. وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ وَالْغَارِمِينَ. So we covered 3 groups of people. Remember, we have 8 groups in zakat. So 3 groups covered. So the next 3 groups are the mu'allafati qulubum. We say inclined, their hearts are inclined. So they are not only converts. In Singapore, we have a portion given for the converts. That is why Darul Arkam actually collects zakat, which is given to the converts. So we will see that it actually covers more than just converts. And fil riqab, those who are in bond, who needs to be released from their bondage, and that covers slaves. So there's no more slaves and people who are to be ransomed and things like that. And gharimin are those in debt. Right? That also we need to cover a little bit. Gifts to key persons out of the Islamic territory or at its outskirts, who may be won over for supporting the Islamic mission or brought closer to Islam. So that means that these are people who are out of the Islamic territory, but there are indications that they are attracted to Islam. So these people, we can give them money also. So that means Islam does give money, right, to win over the hearts of people. And we see this now happening with the Christians. We are aware that the Christians actually go to poor areas of the Muslims, especially in Indonesia. We heard that, and how they use money to convert people, right? It's not that we are using for Islam. These people are inclined, so to attract them further, that we care for them. It shows compassion, care, and concern for these people by giving them money. Examples can be some influential persons that may be sitting on the fence, and a gesture of goodwill may tip their hearts over towards supporting the Islamic mission. Right, so you can see it's sitting on the fence. That means they're not sure. They're neither disbelievers nor were they Muslims, but they have an inclination to Islam. So you just need a little bit of, gift to bring them to Islam. Or key figures among the new converts in the new Islamic territory who need to feel welcome. So it is a gesture of goodwill. Or any other leaders or celebrities whose help may be needed for the missionary strategy of the Islamic government. Or the vocal enemies of Islam who need to be neutralized to clear the air for clear communication of the Islamic message. So this is under mu'allaf. All right, so it's not, as mentioned, it's not only converts, but a number of them that there are those people who are interested, who we see has can be brought to Islam. The basis of an incident whereby Umar radiallahu anhu rescinded such a grant during the time of Abu Bakr, some jurists think that this category is now expired. So Umar radiallahu anhu actually during the time of Abu Bakr stopped this this of giving money to those who are inclined to Islam. And so there are some opinions. Jurists means those who make rulings. The fuqaha, we call them the fuqaha actually. They're called jurists. And they are the ones who make rulings. And they, with what Sayyidina Umar did, they actually decided that they come to the conclusion that this particular category is no more, is not taken anymore. It's out. But according to the opinions of many other scholars, that decision was according to the situation at that time and not binding forever. So the other scholars see things differently, and they saw that, oh, it's because that there were reasons given by for Sayyidina Umar doing that. And so it is not binding. The fact that the ruling is in the Quran, right, it is open to the government to decide whether, a Muslim government, of course, whether to give, or any organ or any body that is in charge of the Muslim affairs. For example, in Singapore, we have our MUIS in charge, and MUIS makes decision on who should be given the zakat and which organizations can actually collect zakat. This is a situational category allowed by Allah on the basis of His wisdom, and the Islamic government of the time can use it as the situation demands. Right. So there are several types of al-mulafatul qulubuhum. There are those who are given alms to embrace Islam. For instance, Rasulullah SAW gave something to Safwan bin Umayyah for the war spoils of Hunain, even though he attended it while a mushrik. So he fought on the side of his Muslims, and he fought against, but he was not a Muslim then, but also gave him something. Safwan said, he kept giving me until he became the dearest person to me after he had been the most hated person to me. So that's how you win over people also. Not bribing, but showing kindness to them. And you must be able to see the difference. Because when you bribe, you expect something for yourself. Right? In this case, Rasulullah is bringing him to Islam for himself, for his own sake. Because being a Muslim, we know that, inshallah, you'll be safe. Some of the al-mulafatul qulubuhum are given from alms so that they become better in Islam and their heart firmer in faith. So these are those who are already in Islam, who just become Muslims, so they are given money so that to show them that we are there caring for you. For instance, Rasulullah gives some of the chiefs of Tulaqa'a 100 camels each after the Battle of Hunain, saying, Inni la u'ti rajula wa ghayruhu ahabbu ilayya minhu khasyata ayyukibbahu Allahu ala wajhihi fi nari jahannam. I give a man from the alms, and a man is dearer to me than him, for fear that Allah might throw him on his face in the fire of Jahannam. So although he has two choices, he can give a man who he prefers to give, but he gives this man because he doesn't want this man to go to hell. So basically, he wants the man to come to Islam and inshallah be safe from hellfire. It is recorded in Sahih that Abu Sa'id said that Ali sent the messenger of Rasulullah SAW a gold nugget still in its dirt from Yemen. Now, a gold nugget still in its dirt means it's just unearthed from the ground. It means it's really raw gold, not purified yet. Rasulullah SAW divided it between four men: Al-Aqra bin Habis, Uyayna bin Badr, Al-Qama bin Ulatha, and Zaid al-Khair, saying, Ata'allafuhum, so that it will bring them to draw their hearts together. Some people are given because some of his peers might embrace Islam, while others are given to collect alms from surrounding areas or to defend Muslim outposts. All right, so that's mu'allafatu qulubuhum. The riqab: Al-Hasan al-Basri, Muqatil bin Hayyan, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, Sa'id bin Jubair, Al-Nahai, Al-Zuhri, and Ibn Zayd said riqab means those slaves who make an agreement with the master to pay a certain ransom for their freedom. So in this case, riqab means to free someone. To free someone. And here there is an agreement with a slave, right, that he needs this amount to be freed. And so the slave can go to Rasulullah SAW to ask him to request for this particular amount, right, that he has to pay his master so that he is free from being a slave. Similar was reported about from Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, Ibn Abbas, and Al-Hasan said, it is allowed to use zakah funds to buy the freedom of slaves. indicating that riqab has more general meanings than merely giving money to slaves to buy their freedom, or once buying a slave and freeing him on an individual basis. We can use zakat to do that. Hadith says that for every limb of the servant freed, Allah frees a limb of the one who freed him from slavery. Even a sexual organ for a sexual organ, for the reward is equitable to the deed. Right? So that means that if you free a slave, a servant, a slave, means you pay him and then he is freed, then Allah will free you from the punishments. وَمَا تُجْزَوْنَ إِلَّا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ, and you will be requited nothing except for what you used to do. So you are rewarded except for what you do. This is a verse in the Quran. Portion of zakat funds may be spent for the ransoming of slaves in two ways. First, help may be given to a slave for the payment of the ransom money if he enters an agreement with his master that he will set him free, or the slave pays him a certain amount of money, so that we have gone through before. Second one is that the Islamic government may itself pay the price of his freedom and set him at liberty. So there is no agreement, but the government just pay for the liberty of the slave. There is a consensus of opinion about the first way, but there is difference of opinion about the second way. So this is all rulings now. Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, Said bin Jubair, Laith, Thawri, Ibrahim Nakhis, Sha'bi, all these are scholars, and Muhammad bin Sirin, Hanafis and Shafi'is considered this is as unlawful, while Ibn Abbas, Hassan al-Basri, Malik Ahmad and Abu Thawr considered this as lawful expenditure from this one. So they have differences of opinion, so we leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so as these are the rulings, so there's something wrong, they have difference of opinion, and Allah will reward them accordingly. Help may be given out of zakat funds such debtors as would be reduced to a state of poverty if they paid off all their debts out of their own possessions, irrespective of the fact that whether they are earning any money or not, or whether they are indigent in the general sense or well. Right, so this is the category of zakat that is supposed to be given to debtors, those who are indebted, those who have money. Now, those who owe. Now, he's saying that this person owes money. If he is to use all his money to pay for his debt, then he becomes poor. So those kind of people, you can give them, you can help to pay their debts. That means they don't have the means to pay their debts. You got debt slaves in some countries, Pakistan, all that debt slaves, because they are in debt and they cannot pay off their debts. Then they become slaves of those who lend them money. According to some jurists, the only exception to this are those debtors who are spendthrifts or involve themselves in debts by spending money on wicked deeds. So you can't help, you are not allowed to help anybody who is indebted because of his way of expenditure. Like people like to use credit cards, they buy unnecessary things, and they mount out their loan mounts up with interest and things like that, and they become in a very bad state. This one, actually, some of the scholars say they should not be helped. Right? They should not get money from the zakat because they put themselves in that spot by being unwise with their money, or those who use their money to do wicked things. Help may be given to them only if and when they repent, not repeat, and when they repent. So when they repent, then we can we can help them with the zakat money. So it needs to be seen. There are some debtors who have innocently contracted some debts, like those who have lost all their properties in a fire accident, in a flood, and in other natural events. These are people who doesn't do it intentionally, right? They have lost all of their properties in some kind of tragedy. Then you can help them. Right? This kind of debtors. Qabisa bin Mukhariq al-Hilali said, I carried a debt resolving a dispute between people and went to Rasulullah asking him to help pay it. So what is this debt resolving a dispute? For example, you've got two people fighting, right? One person claim, oh, she owes me $20,000 and she doesn't want to pay, and also they are fighting. So never mind, I'll borrow someone. I'll pay this too much. Okay, let's say $1,000. I'll borrow $1,000 and I'll pay you so that there will not be any quarrel. And that's such people. All right. So after that, he finds that he cannot pay. So he asked Rasulullah to help him pay. Rasulullah SAW said, Aqim hatta ta'tiyana sadaqatu fana'mura laka biha. Be patient until some alms are brought to us so that we give it to you. All right, so that means Rasulullah helped them. They helped him because of his condition. He then said, Ya qabil sahu, innal mas'alata la tahillu illa li ahadi thalatha. Rajulin tahammala hamalatan fahallat lahul mas'alah hatta yusibaha thumma yumsik. Wa rajulin asabatuhu ja'ihatun tahat malahu fahallat lahul mas'alatu hatta yusiba qiwaman min aish. أو قال سدادا من عيش ورجل أصابته فاقة حتى يقوم ثلاثة من ذوي الهجاء من قرابة قومه فيقولون لقد أصابت فلانا فاقة فحلت له المسألة حتى يصيب قواما من عيش أو قال سدادا من عيش فما سواهن من المسألة سحت يأكلها صاحبها سحتا أو قبيسة. Begging is only allowed for 3. A man who incurred debts, solving disputes, so he is allowed to beg until he collects his amount and then stops. So you see, begging is for certain conditions, but then once you receive enough, you must stop. A man who has inflicted by a disaster that consumed his wealth, he is allowed to beg until he collects what suffices for his livelihood. This is a reality of begging. Islam allows you to beg, but you must stop when it is enough for you. We do know of people who beg until they get thousands and millions of dollars. They get money in their pocket, is more than enough for the day, and you can still see them begging and begging and begging. You can see them in Gelang. Actually, they easily get 100 a day. All right. And a man who was overcome by poverty, that 3 wise relatives of his stand up and claim so and so was overcome by poverty. It is definitely very poor. 3 people attest to his poverty. This man is allowed to beg until he collects what sustains his livelihood. So again, the begging is allowed until he is allowed. So here, we see the Qabisa, he is asking for money because of he wants to pay off the loan that he had. So Rasulullah, actually, in this particular hadith, Rasulullah elaborated on that person to explain to him that in this case, he is allowed. Other than these cases, begging is an unlawful amount that one illegally devours. So you cannot beg unless you have these three reasons. First, Muslim collected this hadith. Abu Sa'id said during the time of Rasulullah SAW, a man was struck by disaster because of fruits that he bought, causing him extensive debt. Sometimes, you're doing a business, right? You buy a certain amount of fruits and then the fruits might go bad and you can't sell. So you are struck, right? Because you lose a lot of money. Rasulullah SAW said, "Tasaddaqu alayh," give him charity. People did that, but the amount collected did not cover his debts. Rasulullah SAW said to the man's debtors, "Khudhu ma wajadtum wa laysa lakum illa dhalik." Take what was collected, you have nothing beyond that. So Rasulullah SAW make a judgment here, right? The one who gave him a loan, right? Rasulullah is telling them, just take whatever you can get. That's it. وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. This is the next category. Those in the path of Allah and the travelers. So another 2 group, path of Allah and the travelers. So far we have got the faqir, the miskin, We've got the Fakir Miskin, the one in debt, the one that is Raqib, right? And the Amil. So you've got 5 already. Now 6 and 7. Fi sabilillahi wa ibni sabil. Fi sabilillahi, for the cause of Allah, which encompasses any godly efforts of the faithful, such as religious preachings, holy struggle, services of comfort of life, and solving the difficulties of Muslims. So it covers a big range. And sabilillah. Any godly efforts of the faithful. That means efforts that the faithful who goes out there to preach. So these people can be given zakat. If you don't have money, of course, some people who likes to go preaching and they're very rich. It's fine. The holy struggle, that will be jihad in the path of Allah, in the battles. Services of comfort of life, doing work, so you give them some money for that. And solving the difficulties of Muslims, most probably this will be under maybe social workers, right? So they give them money also. So all these things will be decided by the government. This is a general term which applies to all those good works which pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anybody that does good work to improve the state of the Muslims, right, they are allowed to be given zakat. And that's why in Singapore, our madrasah teachers, they are given zakat every Ramadan by MUIS. So because they are considered as working for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, teaching religion. And at the same time, our madrasah teachers are not getting such a big income. And they are happy. I mean, they work with income much lesser than any teacher out there, any government teacher. That is why some jurists of the opinion that zakat funds may be spent on every kind of good work. So Singapore, we do look into various good works. As long as it benefits the community, right, we can use zakat for it. For example, like PPIS also. PPIS does a lot of work for the community, right, in managing divorced families and mental health issues and whatever. So we are allowed to collect, the PPIS is allowed to collect zakat funds. So most of our Muslim organizations in Singapore are allowed to collect zakat funds because they are involved with helping the community. But the fact is that the majority of earliest Muslim scholars have opined that the way of Allah stands for jihad in the way of Allah, that is a struggle to eradicate the systems based on kufr and to establish the Islamic system in their state. So that those who are earlier scholars, they only say sabilillah means fighting in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, the zakat fund will be utilized to meet the expenses of the journeys the people make, or for procuring means of conveyance, equipment, weapons, and other articles needed for jihad, irrespective of the fact whether they are so well off or not as to need any help for personal requirements, right? So the zakat money is used to buy horses, to buy weapons, to buy armor, to buy food for them, right, on a journey. Likewise, help of a temporary or permanent nature may also be given to those people who devote the whole of their time and energies temporarily or permanently for this work. Right? So whatever work that is for the good of the people, right? In this case, is for jihad only. But we have expanded it to a number of situations. It should also be noted that there has arisen a misunderstanding regarding the way of Allah, where the early scholars usually use for the jihad and the Arabic word ghazia, which is synonymous with fight. Therefore, the opinion that zakat fund may only be used for the purpose of fighting, but jihad in the way of Allah is a much more comprehensive term than mere fighting in the way of Allah. This is struggling in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So jihad applies to all those efforts that are made to degrade the word of kufr and to exalt the word of Allah and to establish the Islamic system of life, whether by propagating the message of Allah in the initial stage or by fighting in the final stage of the struggle. So it covers a lot of field, right? Sabilillah, right? You go out there to establish the word of Allah, even without fighting, is also considered as sabilillah. Wabni sabil, help from zakat fund may be given to a wayfarer or a journey, even on a journey, even though he might be quite well off at home. Some of the jurists are of the opinion that according to this verse, only the wayfarer who does not undertake a journey for a sinful purpose may be helped out of zakat. Sometimes travelers, this is in Singapore, and nowadays in this modern world, this might not really happen because we have got cards, and things like Western Union, whatever. You have money, you can ask money from your family, and communication is so easy. But long time ago, when you're on traveling and you have finished your money or you are being robbed, right, along the way, then you need to be given money, and they can use the zakat funds. But no such condition has been laid down in the Quran or the Hadith to this effect. Besides this, we learn from the fundamental principles of Islam that the sins of a needy person would be in no way prevent us from helping him. So one opinion of a scholar says that if that person goes on a holiday, right, or goes on a trip, which is a sinful trip, maybe to gamble, maybe, then he's not supposed to be helped. But others are saying that the Quran never said that. And as long as they are travelers in need, we should help them. All right. So he says, as a matter of fact, it shall help may prove very useful in reforming sinful and depraved persons. So he says that by helping them, they might, warm up their hearts because they are doing bad things, and yet the Muslim community is helping them, so they might turn back to Islam. For if they get the support in the teeth of need, in the time of need, it may reasonably be expected that they would turn towards purifying their souls. So Ibn as-Sabil is a term used for needy traveler in a land when he does not have what helps him continue his trip. So this type has a share in the zakat for what suffices him to reach his destination, even if he had money there. So the same is true for whoever intends to travel from this area but does not have enough money. So two groups of people are considered as Ibn Sabil, right? One is that he's got lots of money at home, but on his travel, his money just dwindles for whatever reason, and he can't continue with the trip. So he needs to go back. So you can give him money to go back. The other one is that who wants to travel, he needs to travel, right? But he doesn't have money. Of course, not traveling for holiday, travel for a real good purpose here. And a critical purpose. And for example, you need to travel to see your mother who is really sick, right? And you are stranded in a country and you need to go over so you can get zakat money actually. So this type also has a share in the zakat money to suffice for his trip and back. This is proven in the ayah as well as the following hadith. Imams Abu Dawud and Ibn Majah recorded that Ma'mar said that Zaid bin Aslam said that Ata bin Yasar said that Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said that Rasulullah said, لا تحل الصدقات لغنية إلا لخمسة لعامل عليها أو رجل اشتراها بماله أو غارم أو غازي في سبيل الله أو مسكين تصدق عليه منها فأهدى لغني. Sadaqah is not rightful for a wealthy person except in 5 cases. Those employed to collect it. That means no matter, even if that person is rich, right, he is given the money when he manages funds for the community, manages the zakat for the community. One who bought a charity item with his money. Not very sure about this. All right. He bought the item for charity. That means this is for charity. This item is for charity. Like for example, maybe during war, during fights, during expeditions, and there's spoils of war. The spoils of war is supposed to be distributed, right, among the fighters at that time also, and given to Rasulullah Sallallahu a portion is given to the government. We went through that in Surah Anfal, and the government can keep it for the good of the community, of course, basing on this 8 asnafs first and foremost. Now, but if you have like maybe a bowl, a golden bowl, and the golden bowl is It's useless in that sense to help the poor, right? You don't get the golden bowl and you're not going to be helping them in any way to get food. So you take the golden bowl and you sell it to a rich person. So the golden bowl is an object of sadaqah. But this rich person buys it, right? So he is now owning something which is from the sadaqah. So it's fine. But a charity item with this money. A gharim, a debtor, as I mentioned, he is rich, but he has a lot of debts, and we can help him to pay his debts because his money, despite having money, he can't pay off his debts. A fighter in the cause of Allah, he's rich, but he is fighting in the path of Allah, we can give him sadaqah. Or a poor man who gets a part of the zakat, so he gives it as a gift to a rich man. So this poor man gets sadaqah or zakat, right? And he loves, he has a friend who's rich and he loves his friend so much. He took the zakat money that he get and that he received, and then he give it as a present to the person. So that is sadaqah, and that sadaqah is allowed for that rich person, right? So that's for us to look at. Fariidatan min Allah. And this is the part where the scholars would say the word is faridah. Faridah means wajib from Allah, right? It's an obligation from Allah, and we know sadaqah as in alms, as in charity, is not wajib, but zakat is wajib. So that is why, and also after the 8 categories are cited, this becomes wajib. We have 3, 3, and 2. 3, 3, and 2 is now 3, 3, and 2. So it's 8 of them. Poor tax is one of the certain necessary duties of the religion of Islam. And so the Quran in the above verse says that it is a duty ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So poor tax, they put it as poor tax, is actually zakat. This phrase means that poor tax is a certain obligatory commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So according to this holy verse, this poor tax must be spent in the same 8 positions or categories just in the verse, and in other sites, it is not permissible. So only these categories are to be spent from zakat. As explained, full majority of Islamic jurisprudence, of course, believe that poor rates can be spent for all 8 mentioned instances, and it is not obligatory to divide it among them, right? So if we have $200 of zakat, right, to be distributed, we don't have to find all the 8 categories. These are the 8 groups of people that can receive the zakat, but you don't have to make sure you give 20 here, 20, 200 divided by 8, right? That's 25 each. So 25 is just too little. So you know a poor family who are in need of that $200, right, to pay off maybe their water bills or whatever, give it all to them. It's fine, right? It's fine. So it is that you can choose any one of this category. But of course, then again, we don't give too much to one group of people and then, not being fair to the others, and sometimes we don't actually know who some of these poor people said to say they have and they still take. So it's quite difficult for us, but we do it out of own understanding of their states. But from one point of view, spending it in these 8 instances depends on the social necessities. And from another point of view, it depends on the attitude of the Islamic government. So it depends on a lot of situations, and the government or the body that controls should decide. Wallahu alimun hakim. And Allah says He is all knowing and He is all wise. So He knows by this verse, Allah has identified groups of people that should be given the zakat. Not everybody is to be given the zakat. And explanations were given by hadith of Rasulullah. So the knowledge of Allah has caused Him to stipulate zakats to be given to these people. And also, if you go on to rulings on zakat, these are all rulings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of His knowledge. So we should not try and think, I don't think this should be it. I think this people should be given. No, Allah has stated He is all knowing. None knows better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He's all wise. No one is wiser than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you don't make rulings and try to dismiss laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is knowledgeable of all things. outwardly and inwardly, and what benefits his slaves. He is wise in all what he declares, does, legislates, and decides. There is no true God or Rob except him. So he is our Rob, he is our God, he is our creator. He knows what, in whatever he declares is wisdom. Whatever he does is wisdom. Whatever he legislates is wisdom. And whatever he decides is of his wisdom. All right, so that's. All right, we finish that part. Long discussion. وَمِنْهُمْ, and among them, الَّذِينَ, those, يُؤْذُونَ, from the word adha, like we read the dua, adha is, adha means harm, harm. Like we say, Alhamdulillahilladzi adhaba anni adha wa afani. So, Alhamdulillahilladzi, we praise and thank the one, Allah, Alladhi is the one, adhaba, remove from me, anni adha is hurt. So that is when we go to the toilet, we relieve ourselves, and we come out. We are grateful that all the toxins in our body are being excreted out. Right? So that's adha. So here's the word adha here. Yu'zuna, they, the ya and the waw, no so al mudari in its rafa state. Nabi, the prophet. Wayaquluna, and they say, present future tense, huwa udhun, he year, a year. Udhun is 1 year. Udhunun is 1 year. He's a year. That's what they say. وَمِنْهُمُ الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ النَّبِيَّ وَيَقُولُونَ هُوَ أَذَنٌ. Udhun. Qul, say, udhunu khairil lakum. Qul, instruction, say, udhunu khair. You can see this is of structure. Mudaf ilai, year of good. Udhun is year. Khair is good, year of good. Lakum, for you. Yu'minu billahi, he believes in Allah. Wa yu'minu lil mu'minin, and he believes in for the believers, or in the believers. Now, believe in the believers means he trusts them. That's what it means. Yu'minu, not like believe in Allah, is believe in Allah. This is to believe and trust the believers. Wa rahmatun, and a mercy, lilladhina, for those amanu minkum, they believe among you. So let's recite that. Qul uzunu khairil lakum yu'minu billahi wa yu'minu lil mu'minina wa rahmatul lilladhina amanu minkum. Walladhina yu'zuna, and those they harm Rasulullah, messenger of Allah. So they harm, so Rasulullah becomes a nasab here. And Allah, he is jar because it's an off structure, Rasulullah. You see, Rasulullah, that is Rafa. Rasulullah is a nasab. Lahum, for them, adabun alim. Adab is punishment, alim is painful, painful punishment. All right, there are some of them who molest. Use the word molest. Molest is to hurt, right? To cause harm to Rasulullah and say, he is one who believes everything that he hears. Say, a hearer, good for you. Believes in Allah and believes the faithful, and a mercy for those who believe. As for those who molest the messenger, Rasulullah, they shall have a painful punishment. وَمِنْهُمُ الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ النَّبِيَّ وَيَقُولُونَ هُوَ أُذُنٌ. Now, minhum, among them. Now, this is a continuation of the hypocrites. We are discussing about the hypocrites, right? One of the things that we are discussing about them is that they previously the zakat last verse was talking about the zakat, because they are saying that the Prophet is not fair in the distribution of the zakat. So Allah clarifies who should be given the zakat. Now Allah continues with them, these people who are hypocrites, and among them, alladhina, those yu'zuna nabiyya, they harm the Prophet by what they say. They say he is just a year. What does that mean? He is just a year. Well, of course, when we talk about years, we think about listening. Right? He has a listening ear, but he just listens. That's what they say. So we would conclude that this statement is a derogatory statement, or is a statement to denounce the Prophet ﷺ. It's one of the charges which the hypocrites leveled against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As he used to listen to everyone and let him say freely whatever he had to say, they would find fault with him, saying he is a credulous person. That is just nonsensical, just listening to everyone and allowing them to say whatever they want to say. Everyone can approach him freely and may say whatever he pleases, and he readily believes whatever he hears. So somehow he trusts people. He believes he is not a liar. We know that Rasulullah is al-Amin. So sometimes when you are, it's usually the case, not sometimes only. Usually the case when you are a person who never lies, you never believe others could lie. Because you don't believe that there is such a thing as lying in your life. Though it was a good thing that he hurt everyone, the hypocrites intentionally spread it as a vice so that the poor and humble Muslims should be kept away from coming near the Holy Prophet. So somehow they turned it around, this characteristics of the Prophet and saw it as a very bad thing that Rasulullah is just so gullible, listening to everybody. So somehow they have prevented, because of what they say, the poor and humble Muslims do not want to come to Rasulullah. The hypocrites do not like that these true believers should inform the Prophet about their plots, mischiefs, and hostile talks. So this is one of the agenda. They are afraid that what they say would be told to the Prophet, so they make up stories about the Prophet. They resented it very much that the Prophet listened to and believed the talk of these humble people against such respectable people as they say. So the fact that Rasulullah believed the poor ones, right, they don't like it, because poor ones are considered as scum of societies. The rich ones should be listened to. Describing the Prophet, they say he is all ear, but by this they mean that he listens to all people and that he can easily be taken in by lies and false assertions. He believes anyone who is ready to swear to him, and he accepts whatever is being said to him with a false air of conviction. All right. He will allow, basically we have in instances when Rasulullah when the Murafiks will come over, they swear by the Prophet, this, that, and all kinds of swearings, right? And Rasulullah just let go. He doesn't actually confront them. So they see that as, oh, you see, he believes everything. Just have to swear for him and show that we have conviction and he'll believe us. So they saw it as something bad. They said this to one another in order to reassure themselves that he will not see their reality or discover their hypocrisy. So this is another way of looking at it. This is being said that he'll just believe us no matter what, right? It's okay, we just go over and just tell him, oh, I can't go to war today because my mother is sick. Okay, I go to war because I've got a big bump in my leg. It's so painful, I can't go walk. Okay. So in some sense, it is a way of them reassuring each other. It's okay, you just tell him whatever, he'll believe you. They may also say it in criticism of Rasulullah because he believes the true believers who will report to him whatever they might come to learn of the reality of the hypocrites and what they might say about them or about Allah's messenger and his genuine companions. So whatever the Jews have said, right? The Jews, of course, whatever the Jews, the hypocrites, whatever the hypocrites say, the hypocrites doesn't like it to be told to Rasulullah. So the fact that Rasulullah listens to the believers who bring the stories about the hypocrites, they're very unhappy about it. So they just, what is this? Everybody, you listen, is it? Various reports confirm both attitudes as a reason for the revelation of this verse. So the first attitude was that, just say whatever, he'll just listen to you. So this is to assure the among themselves that it's fine. And the other one is that, he'll just believe whatever these people say. They don't like it that these people can say whatever they want to say. Indeed, it may be taken to refer to either attitude. As for the hypocrites, they said these words intending either meaning at different times. So they are saying it to make Rasulullah look as if he's got no backbone. He'll just listen and just say yes, 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 yes. So Allah rebuts and instruct Rasulullah to say, right, a year of good for you. So whatever he does, he listens for the good and it's for you. In fact, they demonstrated one of the advantages of the Prophet in the form of his disadvantage, the existence of which is necessary in a leader. So in actual fact, although they were trying to dismiss Rasulullah SAW, although they were trying to dishonor Rasulullah SAW by saying this about him just being a year, but in actual fact, this is a very great quality of a leader. A leader needs to listen. Listen and listen for the good. That is why the Quran immediately after that adds this idea in the verse, implying that if the Prophet, as you imagine, is an ear and listens to your statements and accepts your excuse, it is useful for you. There are reasons for it. He knows what's good and he will take what's good. It says, قُلْ أُذُنُ خَيْرٍ لَكُمْ. Say, a year good for you. It is beneficial for you because in this way he protects your credit. He does not waste your personality and he does not hurt your feelings. So he listens and he acknowledges and he doesn't confront you, right? And denounce you. He doesn't expose you. Through this way, he employs his efforts so that he preserves your affection, concord, and unity. But if he uncovered the curtains and publicly disgraced the liars, there would arise a lot of troubles for you. That is the reality of Rasulullah. He does it for good. Yu'minu billah. Most importantly, he believes in Allah. Wa yu'minu lil mu'min. And he believes in the believers. Right? The believers are truthful people. And he believes that they are truthful. Then, in order that the criticizers do not misuse this statement and do not take it as a document, the verse continues implying that Rasulullah SAW believes in Allah and His commandments, hearkens to the words of the true believers, and accepts them and observes them. So that is the reality. Whatever he does is because of his belief in Allah, right? Maybe the hypocrites come to him and they lied, right? They swore, they what they do, and he just okay, right? Because he believes Allah knows best and Allah will deal with them, right? And the believers tells him about the hypocrites. He believes them because they are true people. They are people of faith. That is Rasulullah in fact has two stages of treatment. One stage is conservation of the outward and in hindering from betraying secrets. And the other is a stage of action. So one is to protect from betraying secrets, and the other one is to act on it. In the first stage, he listens to the statements of people, and apparently he does not reject them. But when the time of action comes forth, his attention is only to the commandments of Allah and to the suggestions which are uttered by the true believers. So he does act against people, right, by the commandments of Allah and also by the suggestions of the believers. As a leader who tries to find the truth should treat like that. And supplying the interests of a society is not possible except through this way. Moreover, he is yu'minu billah, he believes in Allah. He certainly believes what Allah tells him about you and about any other people. He also yu'minu lil mu'minin, and he believes what they tell him. He knows them to be true believers, and he knows that true faith deters its adherents from saying anything false or putting up any false appearance. So Allah is emphasizing, Allah is mentioning that he believes in Allah. Because of his belief in Allah, right, he maintains certain positions and certain characteristics and dignity, and believe in the believers. He does acknowledge what they say and act on what they say. Warahmatul lillazina amanu minkum, and he is a mercy for those who believe among you. So Rasulullah is a mercy to all. Not only to those who believe among you. Alladhina amanu. Not the mu'min. Just now was the mu'min. He hears the mu'min. Now, right? Mu'min means there are people who are settled in their faith. Because mu'min is an ism. Being an ism means they are forever faithful to Allah. They're strong in faith in Allah at all times. They do not commit mistakes. They do not commit sins. So there is no doubt that Rasulullah believes in them. But here is those who believe. Now, those who believe is a different category because amanu is a verb, it's a fa'al. So being fa'al, it is a time constraint. So which means this include those people who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but at time falters and at time actually would commit acts of sin. right? They are not as strongly believing in Allah as the mu'min. And they are a mercy. He's a mercy because of what he does, right? The way he listens to them, the way he analyzes the situation, the way he leaves people to say whatever they want to say, he becomes a mercy. A mercy to the believers among you. He is an embodiment of mercy for the sincere believers and mercifully accords them full respect, dignity, and honor, regardless of how the hypocrites view them. He leads them by the hand to all that is good. Right. So this is he teaches them, right? He encourages them on. He loves them. He does lots for them. So he's a mercy to them. You don't ask for them. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ رَسُولَ, and Allah comes back. And those, they harm the Rasul of Allah, the messenger of Allah. For them especially, lahum, for them, adhabun alim, an evil punishment. So you don't get away with harming Rasulullah. And those who purposely harm Rasulullah, make life difficult for Rasulullah, say all kinds of bad things about Rasulullah, for sure they'll be punished. They will not be blessed with the mercy. The mercy is on those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who hurt Rasulullah with such words and find faults from him should not think that they will be left without punishment. Suffering will undoubtedly be inflicted by Allah on anyone who hurts his messenger. He will not allow anyone who hurts his messenger to escape punishment. And the punishment is adhabun alim, a terrible, terrible, terrible punishment. Painful punishment. All right, we'll stop there. We finished 2 verses today. Allahumma arhamna bil Quran waj'alhu lana imaman wa nuran wa hudan wa rahmah.
Allahumma ja'alna wa'allimna minhum ma jahilna
warzuqna tilawatahu ana al-layli wa atrafan nahar waj'alhu lana hujjatan ya
rabbal alamin.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma astaudi'uka ma 'allamtani fardudhu ilayya waqta hajati ilayhi fala tunsinihi ya rabbal alamin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ربنا انفعنا بما علمتنا ربي علمنا الذي ينفعنا ربي فقهنا وفقه أهلنا وقرابات لنا في ديننا مع أهل القدر أنثى وذكر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته